Some of the other teams in that Eastern Division to keep an eye on, in addition to both the Knights and the Raiders who figure to be contenders, of course you have Forest Lake, a team that last year finished last in the Twin Cities Suburban Conference during the regular season, but then somehow turned it on and became a state title contender. That's right, a state title contender. They lost in the state finals a year ago after a last place conference finish, and this Forest Lake team is loaded with talent. They bring back Aaron Wilborn in left field. They also bring back the Popards. One of them is gone. Scott graduates, but Todd and Ryan both return. Matt Joesting behind the plate, an outstanding receiver. Nick Altavilla, a great athlete. He'll be the sophomore shortstop this year. And on the mound is where they really have some key depth. They may have more good pitchers than anyone in the state of Minnesota. Neil Carlson, an outstanding pitcher. And they also return, of course, both Todd and Ryan Popard, who will see some time on the mound as well. That Forest Lake team is going to be tough to beat in the eastern half. Can't forget about Hill Murray, a team that last year finished 10-11, may have been the biggest threat to Coon Rapids in Section 4AA, but because of the seeding process, they drew Chris Bloomer in the opening round. But this Hill Murray team is one to watch. They have perhaps the best left side in Scott Rosardi and Rob Quinlan. The Pioneers, of course, are off to a good start. They defeated Stillwater and Blaine earlier this week already. A couple of other teams. Keep your eye, of course, on the Knights with Rob Ramaker. Stillwater figures to be good, although Coach Ricky Michael won't admit that at this stage of the game. And, of course, also White Bear Lake under head coach Paul Mork. You know that they will be fundamentally sound. They have some big shoes to fill in Mr. Bloomer. But we'll keep an eye on that Eastern Division Conference race, and we'll do it starting this week. Our season opener here on KABL is between Irondale and Coon Rapids. Last time these two got together, it was a memorable game in the winner's bracket final of Section 4AA last season. A 6-5 extra inning win for Coon Rapids. They'll get it on with the Knights at Irondale, the premiere time Wednesday night at 8 o'clock right here on KABL Channel 52. We're your home for high school baseball this spring.
You know, it's a tough conference we've been in anyway in the Twin Cities Suburban, so we're just kind of used to it. Every time you go out, you better be ready to play and play good defense and get some offense somehow and pitch real well, and if you do that, you're going to be fine.
And the realignment, for that reason, really doesn't have a great effect because this Twin City Suburban was loaded top to bottom in the past as well.
Exactly. I think over the last 5 or 6 years, we've had, 3 or 4 state championships come out of our league, and there's no question that we're used to playing tough competition all the time.
Now, in the Western Division, it may not have, so to speak, the top teams like the East has, but I think the only reason it doesn't is because everybody's about the same. You take a look at this division, and it is wide open. As the standings will show you so far, the Western Division teams have struggled against the East head-to-head so far this year, but everyone in that league has at least one loss already.
Exactly. The only undefeated teams, if I have my figures right, are Hill Murray with 2 wins and Roseville with 2 wins, and everybody else is 1-1, and that includes our league. Everybody's 1-1. We beat Osseo the other day in a real scorcher, and they went up the next day and beat Forest Lake, and then we went over to Hill Murray came over to our place and romped on us a bit. So that's just the way it is in our conference.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your team here, first of all, Coach. And I'm sure over the last couple of seasons you've been wondering where that offensive firepower that you had a couple of seasons back has disappeared to, because the story the last 2 years in Blaine has been the inability to score runs, and early on this season you get 5 on the board and beat Osseo, but then Hill Murray put the clamps on you and beat you 11-1.
That's exactly true. Last year we had pretty good pitching, and we had some good defense, but we couldn't get the hits that we needed. We lost, I believe it was 7 one-run games last year due to one thing or another, and if we'd have won just half of them, it would have made a whole lot of difference. So we've been over 500 for a bit. We ended up being 500. But this year we seem to be hitting a bit better. Kids went out early, and they started going out and working on it, and couple months ahead of time, they got out there and did some hitting, and I think it's really showing up. Although Hill Mary's pitcher came in and really kept us off balance last Thursday, and give them credit for doing it.
Well, and your team, as you mentioned, has had no problems pitching the ball over the last couple of seasons. They got you to the section finals 2 years ago, despite the fact that that offense couldn't score runs, and last year kept you in ball games, into all those one-run ball games, despite the fact there was no offense.
That's true, and our defense has usually been right there too. Although I let us down against Hill Murray, we had trouble with ground balls, and fly balls were dropping in front of us. We were playing way back for that double, that comes about twice a game, and I don't know why we got to play back there and not come up and get those ones that drop in front.
Coon Rapids loses almost everybody off of their team from last year, and then their neighborhood rivals, Anoka and Champlin, bring everybody back. So, Coach Cutchess, let's get your thoughts on some of these other teams, and we'll start out with Coon Rapids, the team, the defending state champions, but the cupboard is bare this year for Jerry Coe. As far as returning players, he has some outstanding talent.
Yeah, they have an excellent feeder program over there, and it makes them tough every year, and I think as the last 2 years attested to that. 2 years ago, they won the conference championship, or tied for it, and then last year they won it and went on and won the state championship. And that was after getting a new coach, after Sundstrom had been there for 20-some years. They have excellent youth program on the way up the line, and I think that accounts for it. Anoka is kind of short this year because Champlin Park kind of pulled away a few of the ball players that they had, but Anoka is going to be tough. Kip Berglund and Bowen, those two kids are excellent pitchers, and so they're going to be real tough. Champlin might be hurting a bit in the pitching department, but they've got 8 guys back, 9 guys back who can hit the ball real on. They got Egan, who is Division I catcher, and they're hurt right now, but will be back in a couple of weeks, I think, or maybe less. I don't know what his timetable is at this moment, but they're really going to be tough. Osseo comes over from the lake, as does Park Center, and Osseo comes with the most credentials. They've been in the state tournament like 6 of the last 7 years or something like that, and taken second a couple times and been in there. So they just add a little more luster to the conference and make it tougher for all of us. Elk River comes in, and we thought, well, maybe Elk River is probably a little behind. Well, what do? They beat Champlin Park 12-1 or something like that the first game, and so Elk River is going to be tough. They're going to be competitive, and it just shows you what the West Twin Cities Suburban is all about. And not that we're the only tough conference around, but we're pretty solid top to bottom, and you better be ready to play. You better have the right kind of head screwed on every day, or you're going to lose your socks one way or the other.
And for Coon Rapids, replacing all the heroes from last year's team, but the bottom line is they have some players who saw big game experience last year. That has to help them. Yeah,
John Young is back, and he's one of the pitchers I believe, and Jared Whelan's back, and he's a pretty good one too. But Mike George Jr. is a good ball player for them, so they're not hurting for players. All they need is some seasoning, and come tournament time, it will look out.